Have you ever asked yourself or thought about how long is the present? And does it even exist? We know that 5 seconds ago you started watching this video, and 50 seconds from now it will be a minute into the past. But does the present have a length of time that we can measure or define? What is the present, and does it even exist? We exist in this elusive and undefinable moment of time we call the present, nestled in between the past and future. The very moment we think about the present, it's already in the past as the future transitions seamlessly, allowing us to experience an even flow of time. The concept of the present is something we take for granted. We experience our lives in a continuous flow of time that we consider to be happening now. But asking the question, how long is the present, forces us into a complex and multifaceted exploration. It touches on psychology, philosophy, neuroscience, and the fundamental nature of time itself, as described by physics. The length of the present depends on how we choose to define it, and that definition may change depending on the lens through which we view it. Let me propose to you an idea, the idea that the present does not actually exist, that the present is an illusion we perceive that is the undefinable space in time between the absolute beginning of the past and future. We merely experience an instantaneous transition as the future moves into the past. This suggests that the present moment must be perceived or it does not exist, giving a philosophical pretext to what quantum physics tells us. Quantum physics tells us that the present is a place in space-time where all future possibilities collapse into a single reality, becoming a single unified past. The concept of millions of possibilities collapsing into one reality refers to the idea that a quantum particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously until a measurement is made, at which point the wave function collapses and the particle settles into a single definite state, essentially selecting one reality from a range of potential possibilities. In psychology and neuroscience, the idea of the present refers to the specious present, which is the duration in which our brains perceive events as happening in real time. It's a theory that describes the period of time during which we are aware of change and persistence. It's a short time span where we can distinguish between what is earlier and what is later, even though both are present in consciousness. This can be thought of as the window of time we are aware of as the now before it slips into the past. This period typically lasts about 2 to 3 seconds, a brief span of time where our brains can process a single, coherent experience. During this window, we integrate sensory information, sights, sounds, and touch into what we perceive as the present moment. Our brain categorizes events as being part of the past. For example, if you hear a sound followed by another sound 2 or 3 seconds later, your brain interprets them as part of the same present experience. If they are separated by a longer time, you begin to think of the earlier sound as being in the past. In this sense, the present is a subjective experience defined by our brain's ability to gather, interpret, and connect sensory input. The human experience needs a present moment to have the ability to categorize past moments and anticipate future events. Neurologically, the perception of time is a function of how quickly the brain processes information. Different parts of the brain are responsible for interpreting different types of sensory data, whether it's visual, auditory, or tactile. These inputs take varying amounts of time to reach the brain and be processed. This processing speed plays a significant role in our perception of time, including the present. Our brain takes longer to process visual information than auditory information. In order to create a seamless experience of now, the brain synchronizes these inputs into what it interprets as the present moment. This is why the present feels fluid and continuous, even though the brain is constantly receiving new information at slightly different speeds. When we turn to physics for answers, the idea of the present becomes even more elusive. According to Einstein's special theory of relativity, time is not a fixed universal constant. Rather, it is relative depending on the observer's velocity and location in the universe. In other words, the present can differ for two observers based on how fast they are moving or the strength of the gravitational field they are in. This means that there is no single universal now that applies to everyone, everywhere in the universe. Two people moving at different speeds or located in different gravitational fields may experience time differently. What one observer considers the present could, for another observer, be in the past or the future. This phenomenon is called time dilation, and it shows that the present is not an absolute concrete concept in the physical world. This relativity makes it hard to define how long the present is in a universal sense, because time is experienced differently depending on circumstances. From a philosophical standpoint, some theories suggest that the present might not even exist as we perceive it. Philosophers have debated whether time is an objective entity or simply a construct of human consciousness. One view, called presentism, argues that only the present is real. Both the past and future are simply mental constructs. In this case, the present would be the only moment that truly exists, though how long it lasts is still unclear. On the other hand, eternalism posits that past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, much like a block of time in which every event is already laid out. From this perspective, the present is just one slice of the whole, but its duration is irrelevant because all moments coexist in this block universe. The length of the present depends on how we choose to define and perceive it. Our brain allows us to perceive the present as 2 to 3 seconds, which is the time span in which the brain can integrate sensory information into a coherent experience. Neurologically, this is the window through which we perceive our surroundings before they become part of the past. In reality, the future becomes the past instantaneously, regardless of how long it takes for us to perceive it. The present could be an illusion, a fleeting perception created by our consciousness within an eternal timeline. Whether or not the present exists as something that we can measure remains elusive. How we choose to define it is limited by a large degree by our ability to perceive it. Time, as it exists with its three components, past, present, and future, will most likely always be an enigma for beings in the third dimension. But human nature forces us to question and investigate time as it moves forward in a single direction. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time in a godless universe.